You've probably heard about that potential railway strike across the country. It's because of an ongoing labor fight between railroad owners and their workers. Members of 4 of the 12 unions rejected a tentative deal that was brokered by the White House to end the labor fight. 8 of the unions accepted it, but you need all of them. Economists say a strike during the holiday season could cost the U.S. economy $2 billion a day, and so Congress is now stepping in. Just a few hours ago, the U.S. House of Representatives voted 290 to 137 to pass a bill that would impose the original deal on the companies and workers and make a strike illegal. That now heads to the Senate. Then there was a second vote in the House to address the biggest sticking point, the fact that rail workers don't get any sick days. A bill that would add 7 sick days to that agreement passed by a much closer margin. Look there, it's 221 to 207. That one would also have to pass the Senate in order to change the deal. Now, we looked through the roll calls to see how our local members of Congress voted on these bills. Democrat Brian Higgins and Republicans Chris Jacobs and Joe Sempolinski all supported the first bill prohibiting a strike. In terms of that second bill, though, that provided the sick days, it was only supported by 3 Republicans total. Neither of our local GOP members voted in favor of that. And Representative Higgins joins us now from Washington, D.C. Congressman, I know it's a very busy day there. We appreciate you taking some time. And I think the big question here, as you are someone who is very and proudly pro-union, how do you square that with the vote that you and a lot of members had to take today in order to sort of avoid this strike?
Well, 8 of the 12 units did support it. It's a 24% increase in pay with a $5,000 bonus. All health care benefits have been preserved in this package, and it's critically important to the economy of the United States. If there was a rail strike, it would cost us about $2 billion a day, hundreds of thousands of workers, potentially millions of workers. And since 1926, Congress has intervened 18 times in order to avert a strike, and it was the devastation that a strike would have on the economy that influenced the president and the Democratic majority, along with Republican votes as well, to support this package to avert a rail strike.
We just mentioned that there were 2 votes. There was the vote that we just talked about there that will avoid the strike as long as it passes in the Senate as well. Then there was this second vote that would have added the 7 sick days to the deal. It was separated out. I know that you voted for both of these. The second vote was a lot closer, with a lot of people not supporting adding those sick days. How do you foresee that playing out as this comes to a conclusion?
Well, my hope is it would be included in the Senate bill because I do think the president would sign it. However, in order for this to become law, it has to pass in both the House and the Senate, same as legislation. So the Senate has an opportunity to amend their bill to include 7 days of paid sick leave. 100,000 rail workers do not have paid sick leave, and 75% of the private sector does. So we believe it's a fairness issue, and it's something that we've been fighting for in previous bills. You know, we're an advanced economy, and virtually every advanced economy has paid sick leave. It is part of the program that adds up to worker equity and fairness. So we think that's a very important provision. So it was in the House bill, not in the original Senate bill. Our hope is that the Senate will include 7 days of paid sick leave in their final version before it goes to the president for his signature.
There are a lot of labor negotiations that end up getting close to a potential strike. You mentioned it's not unprecedented for Congress to step in as you're doing now, but relatively rare. What is it that makes this different and a case in which, you know, the U.S. House of Representatives needs to have a vote like you had today?
Yeah, good question. It has everything to do with the performance of the economy. As you know, we already have upward pressure on prices, and the economy, you know, is very fragile right now. It's distorted post-pandemic, and any shock to it would place severe financial constraints on various aspects of the economy, including the all-important supply chain. And if you have a supply chain, the one thing that you require is movement of those supplies in the auto industry and the chemical industry and the pharmaceutical industry. So it's very, very important not to have a shock or a complete stop to that in one industry, that being the rail industry. So we felt it was very, very important that Congress step in here, as they had previously, nearly 20 times since 1926. And the reason the Rail Labor Act was established was for that very reason, the importance of railroads as it relates to the performance of the American economy. So that provision was put in place, and it was exercised by Congress and the President today.
Finally, Congressman, just like every other member of the House, you're going to be up for re-election in 2 years. I wonder about the politics surrounding this. I mean, President Biden has said he's the most pro-union president in the history of the country. He's getting some pushback for what's happening here from some union supporters. Are you worried that this will draw some type of disconnect between the Democratic Party and labor?
I'm not. This is a practical solution to a very real problem. And as I said, this is not without benefits. There's a 24% wage increase. There's a $5,000 bonus. If the House version passes, you will see 7 days of paid sick leave, which they don't currently have. So there's a lot of benefits in there. And the reason we put in the 7 days of paid sick leave is that was the primary reason why 4 of 12 bargaining units did not support the bill. So I think that, this is a tough situation, but the American economy is very, very important. Keeping people working is very important, and this bill goes a long way toward doing that, but also providing equity and opportunity for those who are represented by these bargaining units.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees that this is a difficult balancing act, no matter how you end up coming down on it specifically. Brian Higgins is a Democratic representative from the 26th District representing us in Washington. Congressman, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Michael.